Yoga. It is my pleasure to bring you some light of inspiration during this time. And what better way to do it than with my own community of dancers and friends who inspire me. Today, I'm super happy and just really blast from the past to see my friend Erika Archer. I'm so happy that she's here. Erika and I used to dance on a hip hop dance team together called Dynamic at University of Maryland, where she earned her degree in Cultural Anthropology. She has a background in various forms of dance as well, including traditional Native American dance. Erika has been doing psychic readings for over a decade now. She works with tarot and oracle cards along with her natural psychic gifts to help her clients gain clarity, truth, guidance, and the answers they seek when it comes to their life. She also has a passion for helping others manifest their goals and desires, as long as their goals are in the highest good. She does not believe the future is set in stone. She does believe that we all create our own world and our reality, and our well-being is our personal responsibility. She enjoys helping others step into the best version of themselves with the help of her gift. Thank you so much for being here, Erika.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we get into some questions that I have for you, how has the pandemic affected your everyday life and your business?
Well, honestly, not too much. I already worked from home previously before everything hit. So I guess I would be considered an essential worker because it it didn't really affect my business in the way that people always want guidance on their life. People always want help in understanding the things that are confusing them, or what maybe path they should take or what steps they should take that could help them to go in the right direction. So in that way, the business kept going because I was already online based. So I tease because I'm a bit of an introvert these days. I've kind of been one. So it's like I was already prepared for quarantine. So it didn't really affect the business, but I do say it did still allow further time to go within, to really just figure out what can I use this time where there's not a lot going on outside that to help keep things moving forward or to better myself and things like that. So it did affect it in that way, in a good way. But definitely my heart goes out to those that suffered during this time.
Right, and thank you for sharing that. It's great to see that, you know, you're able to still reach so many people without having to actually physically go anywhere. And that's what I love so much about what you do, that you can still connect on that level and really, you know, share your gifts with others at a distance. So just like we are now, you are all the way out in California and I am here in Philadelphia. So it's really awesome to be able to connect with you and see all the lovely things that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your background and what interests you had growing up as a kid.
Okay, so growing up as a kid, I guess there's still kind of the same interest. So animals, I always had a special connection to animals. I used to think I wanted to be a vet, but then I realized I can't stand seeing animals in pain because I'm an empath and I didn't know that at the time. So that didn't work, but I still have a special connection to animals, just kind of understanding and feeling them. Dance, obviously, you know me from dance. So dance is and always will be an interest, a form of medicine, a form of therapy, a release, fun, outlet always. And then even as a kid, like art, anything artistic or theatrical, like I like plays and the movies, anything that really helped with the imagination. As a kid, always was an interest, and I realized that that's actually imagination as a child, and even daydreaming as an adult helps with your third eye opening. So it contributed.
Absolutely. And in yoga practice, we talk about the third eye opening. So thank you for mentioning that. Can you explain that a little bit more for people who might not be familiar with it?
Okay, so the third eye, scientifically, they know it as the pineal gland. So it looks kind of like a pine cone. And the issue is we all have it. We all have the ability to use it. Some people even refer to it as the first eye. It's the eye that's open even before these two when we're young. But over time, society, what we're taught, the things we eat, the things we drink, the things we feed ourselves, not just in terms of eating or drinking, but what we watch or listen to, we can calcify our pineal gland, our third eye. And so then it's not open anymore. It becomes almost like hardened, I guess. I don't know too much of the scientific side of that part, but that's when we're unable to see beyond, I'll use the word the matrix. I call it the matrix. That's when we're unable to see beyond the matrix of what we consider to be reality, but there's so much more. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting to think about. And we'll get a little bit more into some of the things that you use during your readings and those kinds of things as well. But first, you graduated from the University of Maryland, where we were teammates on Dynamics dance team. Awesome. How did you discover dance in the first place? And tell us about the Native American dancing that you did.
How did I discover it? Well, I've been in dance. My parents put me in dance class when I was 3, and it just never stopped after that point. And then, of course, growing up, my parents are very strict in what I listen to. So basically growing up, I could only listen to Michael Jackson or gospel music, even though I don't really identify as religious now, but Michael Jackson, basically seeing him dance and all his different styles and just relating to him. So I guess he played a huge role in it once I was old enough to understand, but it's kind of something that I've always done. With the Native American dance, so I'm both Native American and Black. So when did it start? So I would say around college. Around college is when I really started to question my identity. You know, who are my parents? What are their cultures? Where do they come from? And wanting to really know a deeper sense of myself. So I started doing research and diving deeper into my Native American side, because that was the side nobody talked about. That was the side nobody taught me about. And that goes back to, like, that's a whole nother story on its own, but they were conditioned that way to conform. So and that's kind of what got me into cultural anthropology, like understanding people, understanding heritage and culture. So I started studying, and then I've been going to powwows, but of course I'm a dancer, and I just really wanted to connect deeper to my ancestry. And Native American dance is medicine, it's ceremonial. Sure, it can be entertaining, like a pals and stuff, it's beautiful to watch, but the root of it is for healing purposes or for ceremonial purposes. And I found that to be just a release, and of course healing that I needed once I really started learning what the dances were, what they stand for, and taking part of it. So that's kind of how it started.
Beautiful. And you have always been like such a beautiful dancer, watching you, whether it's like hip hop, whether it's doing the Native American dancing. It's just awesome to see you, and you can tell that like it has that like kind of healing factor on you as well, because you just like shine and light up whenever you're dancing. So that's really awesome. Yeah. So you have started your business doing psychic readings. What led you on this path?
Oh, that's a long road. Okay, so I've always been able to just feel things about people, what I now know and to be what people refer to as a psychic empath, which means you feel what other people are feeling and going through, and even the world around you. So I've always been able to feel things, sense things about people. I would have dreams that would happen. I used to see things a lot more when I was younger, spirits, animals, things like that. And that's come back now, but there was a time period where it kind of went away because I didn't want to see. But I would say the event that I realized something was really different was in the 4th grade on a field trip to Mount Vernon, where George Washington lived. I got hit by a car. And what I say, like I hit, but really I got more sideswiped. If I had not turned when I did, I would have been hit, but it swiped me on the side because I heard somebody call my name. And they were like, what made you turn? If you didn't turn, it would have been so much worse. And I said, somebody called me. And they're like, nobody called you. So that was the first time I realized something was happening. So that, I would say that was my first psychic spiritual experience. And then when I lived in New Mexico, I was dancing with a dance company called Dancing Earth at the time, an indigenous dance group. And it was a combination of being around so many intuitive beings that also were connected so much to the ancestral groups. I started going through my spiritual awakening and learning with them, and then just the energy around. And then the director, her name was Rulan. She also was very psychic. She would see visions of things and put it in her choreography. And then years later, it plays out. So being connected to her and her energy and everybody else, that kind of helped spark something in me. And then I also went through a depression, because a lot of the time when we go through a spiritual awakening, we also go through a depression because we realize how silly a lot of the things we focus on in this world can be, and we just don't feel like we're part of it anymore. Like we don't relate. So we kind of want to isolate, and we go into a depression because we feel alone. So I was going through the depression, the discovery phase, and then I walked into a metaphysical shop in New Mexico, and I met a woman named Rhonda. And Goddess Rhonda, that's why I go by Goddess Erika, because she started it. She brought out the goddess in me. She said, you're so depressed, not because of necessarily all you feel everybody's pain. So you have to learn how to use your gifts so you can understand what's yours and what somebody else's, so you can also help them. So she taught me about what it meant to be an empath. She taught me how to use my gift. She taught me how to start reading cards. So that's where it started, thanks to that journey.
Thank you so much for sharing that with me. It's always interesting to learn how, what got you onto the path of where you are now. And it seems like so many things kind of brought you to where you're supposed to be now. So thank you so much for sharing that journey with us. For those who do not know much about readings, can you tell us about tarot and oracle cards and kind of the process you use when someone comes to you, without actually, giving a reading, but kind of tell us what that is and how it is for someone who might not know?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't misinterpret that. They think tarot readings is a whole separate thing versus psychic readings. They're not separate. They're actually the same thing, because a true psychic will use the cards and just go off what they feel. So before I describe the difference between oracle and tarot, they both work the same for me. It's kind of like if somebody were to say, hey, I'm going to say the word apple, and then you say whatever else comes to mind after that. What comes to you? It kind of works in that way, where it's like somebody will ask me a question, or maybe even just say, what do I need to know? And I'll tap into their energy and shuffle the cards. I'll pull a card. That visual card, what I'm looking at in the picture or the word, will spark something, and then everything else gets channeled from what they need to know. But yes, people can learn to read tarot, the basic meanings of the cards, but it's so much more than that. So if you are going by the generic overall definition of what that card means, then you're not doing a psychic reading. That's the difference. So I use it as both. They are one and the same for me. And so oracle, they are like, I have these ones I'm creating. These are just very simple. Research it. They say yes or no, not yet. And so and so on. So these are just words, and you have to use your intuition, your psychic ability to fill in the blank of the rest of the story. And you can combine it with other cards too if you want. But oracle cards are different from tarot because they can have any amount of cards in them. They can have 10 cards or 100 cards. They can have just words, or they can have pictures. I've seen oracle cards with just pictures and no words, or both. So they allow, and there's no like format in terms of how you use them. You can just keep pulling till your heart says stop, so on. Now with tarot, traditionally, there's always 78 cards in tarot. They are actually playing cards that we use to play games are based off the tarot. So if you played with playing cards, you played with tarot cards. So there's 78 cards, and they are, for the most part, more structured in the way that a lot of people will use spreads and layouts to work with them. I don't. I kind of just come up with my own thing because I'm just not a fan of rules, period, for a lot of things. But that's really the main difference. Is more, the tarot is more structured in certain ways if you choose to follow that direction. So, and I always tell people, these cards are not magic. These cards don't even give me the answers. If you know anything like about the law of attraction or quantum physics to any level, what happens is you cannot pull a wrong card either. So when I'm connecting to a client's energy or whoever they're asking about, I'm tapping into source. So whatever energy they're connected to, I'm connecting to. And when I'm shuffling the cards, my intuition, which works with the nervous system, will pull the card that needs to be seen, that's connected to that energy. So like this one says in time, and then this will spark a, like, I call it a headline, and then the rest fills in the blank with the information coming through. So that's kind of how the cards work for me. The cards themselves are not magical. It really is the person, as long as they're fully tapped in. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing all that. Wonderful insight, things that I didn't know about, things that I'm sure my community here would love to learn more about. I know I've been following you for years, just one, because we've been friends for a long time, but just to see, your growth. And I see that, you have your YouTube channel, you have been doing things virtually. But I guess tell us, if you were to do like a private session with someone, how exactly would that begin, and how do people like learn more to have a session with you?
I have clients that will come in and they have specific questions they want to know, which I do. I can get to the point pretty quick. I'm not one of these readers that like does filler stories, I guess you could say. I just kind of go, okay, what are you asking me? You're asking me, are they going to call me? Okay, I'm going to look right into that. So some clients really love that, and then other clients are like, okay, well, tell me something I don't already know, but that's not what you asked of me. You asked, are they going to call me? I wasn't focusing on all that other stuff. So I will have clients that will come with questions, and I really focus on the questions, and then some clients will come in and they don't have any question at all. They just want to see, what do I need to know? What is coming through? And those are fun because then I'll pull whatever comes up. And a lot of time what will come up will then spark questions. So it can go either way. You don't have to exactly have a question, but I do recommend that because there's a lot of times where people will come in and like they really want to know about Billy Bob over here and what he feels for them. But they say, oh, just tell me what I need to know. And the universe is like, well, you need to be focusing on self-love. You need to be focusing on your, why you keep attracting people that has this codependent energy. You need to know what you need to focus on, building your business and your goals. And they really wanted to know all about love, but they didn't ask me. So if there's something you really deep down know you want to know, ask the question. Otherwise, the universe is going to get in your butt and just tell you all that you need to be healing and working and what you need to be doing. Yeah.
Yes, totally. That's very interesting. And a part of me was kind of selfishly asking that question because I might or may not want to schedule a session with you soon. So that's kind of where I was going with that. And for anyone else who is just interested, after learning more about you and wanting to, maybe get some questions answered themselves. So now we know. Thank you. Just from being in kind of like the holistic wellness space that I'm in. Some think it's sort of a spirit craft or, future prediction type of work. And some are even fearful of this kind of work. Can you share some of the benefits that come with receiving a reading and kind of break away some of the misconceptions people might have?
Yeah, so I think of getting readings and even doing, if people are scared of the term witchcraft or spell work, manifestation work, intention work, all of that, it is a wellness act because it helps you to tap back into your power. And I always tell people the future really isn't set in stone and it's not guaranteed either. Tomorrow's not promised to anybody. So what I'm seeing as far as future goes, if I'm doing a reading for you, is based upon where the energy is right now and a collective of your past experiences and a collective of your past decisions that kind of have this momentum that if you continue on this path, this is the direction you're likely to go. You know what I mean? So if you don't like what I'm saying, then you have the option to choose a new path altogether, or you have the option to go through the experience and learn the lesson, and then that you probably will need to learn anyway, because a lot of people will do what they want to do anyway. Or you can also choose to take that knowledge and like create a new outcome for yourself. Like, for example, hey, if you keep doing this, if you go down this job path, it may end up here. But if you don't like that, then you have the opportunity, oh, I don't like that outcome, let me just figure out what I really want to do. Let me go apply for this instead, or do this instead. You know what I mean? Or you can go through that path, get the job anyway, learn the lesson you need to learn, and then maybe from there you'll want to do something different. But if it's something good that you want to hear, then that means that you're in a good vibration. That means you're doing the right things. Keep going in that path if it's something that's good news that you want to hear. So it's more of an empowering thing than anything. It's not scary. It's nothing to be feared. Nothing I say is guaranteed. I always tell people it is not set in stone. I don't make promises ever. And a real psychic will never promise you anything because they know that everything's based upon energy, which is always changing. The future's not set in stone.
Thank you so much for clearing that up. I think that is something, when I was thinking about what to ask you, and I had, talked to another friend about it, and she is completely kind of in that boat where, she might have been fearful of kind of, I think sometimes people don't want to know or don't want to be told that something might not go the way that they want it to go. I mean, that's just kind of like a natural thing for humans. And, I gave that question specifically for, her or someone like that who might, have that misconception where it's, it doesn't need to be taken in that way. It's not something to be fearful of. It's something to embrace. It is, like you said, it's a holistic, it's a wellness type of, practice at the end of the day. And, you have the choice. And I'm so happy to, be able to kind of share this with people who just aren't sure, and, might be able to benefit from it. So thank you. Awesome. Yeah. So my last question for you is just very general. What motivates you personally to keep going even during challenging times?
That's a good question. Okay, so for me, I guess it's what I've gotten to now versus where I've been is learning the beauty within the journey. And also, if you give up now, you're not going to know if you ever get the outcome you desire, or even something even better. Because definitely there's been times that I could get caught in the fear because I'm an overthinker, I'm an overanalyzer, and I would want to just give up or just feel like, oh, this is never going to happen to me or for me because these are all the things that happened in the past. You know what I mean? So our fear is often based upon past experiences, but it keeps me going because I've seen all those times where I had that belief, and then I finally snapped out of it and was like, no, if I give up now, then I don't know if I'll ever get to have that love I've always wanted. If I give up now, I don't know if I'll ever get to start the business and quit working for somebody else. If I give up now, I won't know if I'll ever get to live in this amazing place where I want to live. You know what I mean? So it was always, I guess, curiosity of seeing, okay, well, what if I do get there? And then also just the fact and remembering, and the book, The Power of Now, helped a lot with this, because everything, if you just bring it all back to present moment, you realize things are not as bad as you may think in that moment, because the past and future are illusions. And I know I do predictions and all that stuff, but that's the truth. Past and future are illusions. They're not, future's not here yet. Past is gone. You have this moment, and this moment, what you choose to do with it is what creates your future. So once I began to realize all of that stuff, I was like, okay. And then I start to see results. I'm like, oh man, I got this when I thought I would never get that. Let's see what else happens. You know what I mean? So trial and error, trial and error is what really kind of continued to motivate me to get me to where I go. And all the times people told me, oh, you can't be a professional dancer. You need to just stay in school and stay in your good government job. And then I became a professional dancer. You can't make money off doing psychic readings full time. You need to have a regular job, a stability. I'm making, you know what I mean? So you just got to keep trying, believing in yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. And congratulations to you.
Thank you.
It's awesome to see, those moments that, sometimes you surprise yourself by just continuing to keep going. And it's awesome to see that, like, the things that maybe somebody told you couldn't do, or the things that even you told yourself that you weren't going to do, you're doing it. And it's awesome. And, you mentioned a post about vision boards that kind of really resonated with me. Can you share a little bit about what you've been doing with vision boards? Because maybe it might inspire someone else.
Yeah, so I am 100% a believer in the law of attraction. And if you are not familiar with what that is, the very, like, I call it the beginner's guide to it is the book called The Secret, or even the documentary that I think might be on Netflix still, but you can find it, called The Secret. I think it's from like maybe 2006, but I could be wrong. So that kind of teaches the basics. And then they discuss vision boards on there. But to get more in depth, I started learning and studying under people like Abraham Hicks. Well, her real name is Esther Hicks, but she channels a collective entity of sorts that she calls Abraham, and then also Bashar, Bashar, and they all speak on the law of attraction, manifestation, even elements of quantum physics, because magic, if you want to call it that, or even prayer, if you believe in prayer and prayer coming into being, it's all physics. And also, like, spell work is all physics, all of that. So I started learning all of that because of the power that we hold within us. And so I started doing vision boards. And my boyfriend and I, once we got more serious, we did a vision board together that was incorporating our goals as a couple. And we did it like holiday season, somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't remember exactly, that just passed. And he had it in his home, and we forgot, like, we didn't forget about it, but we just kind of let it be. And then now, fast forward to now, we just moved in together a month ago, just about now. We put it up, and we realized, oh my God, half of this we've gotten already. Half of it we've gotten already. Yes, and I'm gonna do a YouTube for that too. So stay tuned. Find me on my YouTube channel. I will put the pictures of some of the things that came about. But what I will say is, this is where trust in the universe comes into play, because the universe, unless you're very specific about certain things, will take its own interpretation of certain things. Like how some of the things played out was very interesting. I'll just give an example. So we put pyramids on the vision board because we have a love for Egypt and Egyptian culture and history and all of that. And so we have pyramids on the vision board, and it manifested itself. There's a building outside our window in Long Beach that's a pyramid, and you can see it. So because we can't travel right now to Egypt, the universe brought the pyramids to us. So you never know how it's gonna play out.
Cool. That's really, really neat. That's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we just look forward to seeing more things from you. And can you tell people where they can tune into your YouTube channel, where they can follow you on social media or any other outlets?
Yeah, so Instagram is definitely my most active social media. So that's Psychic Goddess Erika, and it's Erika with a K, Erika. My YouTube is the same. My YouTube channel is Psychic Goddess Erika, but I always tend to have like a link to my most recent video in my bio, since I don't have the swipe up thing yet. And then also on Facebook, my Facebook is Psychic Goddess Erika.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing, all the wonderful things that you're doing. And we will definitely look out for, more information from you. I will be personally contacting you for a reading soon. So I look forward to that. But on behalf of Two Hearts Dance and Yoga, thank you so much, Erika, for being here. And it's just a to read.
Thank you for having me.